We have to see camp more like boot camp in the military. This kind of condensed form, how long is camp? Was it like a week?
About 6 days.
Okay, that's pretty short. It's a very short period of time. So we have young people coming from all over the country, our world. We have a lot of people overseas that come too. And they hear about the king and training the ninjas and some of that. But then because we didn't have those elements in the camp, then if they come to camp, they're not going to feel that training. It's not a big problem because the camp was very small this time. But next time we'll have definitely more actual type of training that I teach to the kids here. So that way, at least the young people who are getting that, they get a condensed version, but it's more compact. It's compact, but it's more dense. It's almost like a boot camp. And I think when we have when we do camps, we have a tendency of making it too intellectual, have too many lectures and stuff like that. We don't understand the psychological and sociological reality that 80 to 90% of children are brain dead video game zombies. They're literally like this on their phone. Girls and boys, by the way, okay, in the modern day. Like this. They're not intellectuals. They're not interested in hearing intellectual lectures for hours and hours a day. That's a more older model that our first gen was interested in, but most of the first gen to join are more intellectual. They're they're the lower percentage of people because 80 to 90% of the population is not intellectual or is not stimulated by intellectual things. So next time around, we'll definitely do it less intellectual stuff. Not saying intellectuals are bad or anything, because we've been as a young person, we've been to a lot of camps to when we were growing up. They gave lectures. We had lectures like hours and hours a day. I know we didn't do that at that serious level, but we had hours and hours of lectures a day. I can't remember crap. I don't remember anything from those lectures. Zero. I remember one time somebody talked about boobs, and that's what I'll remember. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. That's what the kids remember. When you're a young teenager, you know what I mean? You can't remember anything. So this is the difference between finding your faith and growing up in a faith. It's completely different. Completely different. It's like the first generation people who are maybe Catholics or they're Protestants or atheists or whatever, but they got disillusioned with that and then came and discovered the principles. Whoa, amazing. But you can't put that on the children because the children don't have that as you. They don't have your Catholic experience or your atheist parents' experience, whatever. They have none of that. Many times these kids are going because their parents are forcing them or they're pushing them and say, you better go and get reformed in camp, which we had very nice kids this time. But I was a little sad that they were not able to get the real training that I give the ninjas here, which we'll, of course, do next time. So I'm going to tell these kids, you got a little easy training. You got off lightly this time. Next time, you're going to be a little more training, okay? But these kind of rites of passage are so important. The modern day, we don't have rites of passage anymore. We don't have hard things that people have to endure to show that they've become a man, show that they've become strong. They don't go into the woods and survive all alone and catch a freaking tiger and a bear and a saber-toothed tiger. Young kids don't do that anymore. So they're coddled, they're spoiled, they're rich in terms of being in a modern society. Korea and Japan is still a rich country, compared to the world. America's super rich. So they're entitled, they're spoiled, they've never done hard things, yet they want all the credit of people who do hard things. They're completely delusional. They're narcissists. They're delusional narcissists. And it's very important for the young people of this day. That's why peace, belief, militia training, and that's why the core of peace, belief, militia training effectively is martial arts training, combat fighting training. Because it's through combat that you learn how weak you are at an existential level, at a tremendous instinctual fight or flight fear level. You feel literal terror and dread. I mean, that you've never experienced. You feel literal dread, terror. You're terrified. Because now you are called on your bullcrap and all your pretending that you're tough and attracting attention to yourself and pretending that you're tough because you act a certain way, all that gets put to shame. And you get little kids who are humble but trained that can kick your ass. Doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is kick your ass. Which is a great experience for you. It will change your dang life. It will change it. You will be forever changed because you'll forever know how weak and delusional you are. And you'll have your ashtray whooped in front of people, which will actually give a communal recognition of how weak and delusional you are. Even though you can act tough, and even though you can try to draw attention to yourself. By acting rebellious or flamboyant. That doesn't give you any superpowers in combat. Zero. So that's why, like for young people, martial combat, real combat training, is like a great equalizer. The hardworking, quiet, humble person can shine. And the loud-mouthed, attention-grabbing, more charisma-oriented idiots don't shine. They get their ashtrays whooped and wiped on the floor in front of everybody to see how weak and delusional they are. And this you need. You need that to create a good society. You cannot create a good society where the lazy, narcissistic, delusional attention grabbers get attention or are highlighted or are incentivized. You cannot create a powerful culture that way. You'll create a satanic culture with arrogant, narcissistic, pot-headed, big-headed, entitled kids getting all the attention, which is bad. You don't want that. That's what the family fraud did. And that's why at the family fraud camps, you had the flamboyant ones, the charismatic ones, the lazy ones, the ones that are not hardworking. Quote, being a little rebellious too, and that seemed being made to look cool. Obviously, adults didn't make that, but just unwittingly, they allowed that to happen and burgeon within the young community. And so the young people and the girls got attracted to those kind of more beta predators. Instead of the hardworking, quiet but hardworking man that doesn't attract attention themselves, isn't flamboyant, isn't loud-mouthed, but can whoop your ashtray. You see that? Creating culture is not an easy thing. That's why when people come in my atmosphere and they're trained by me, they will learn a certain culture. I don't let flamboyant, narcissistic, charisma-oriented, dumb idiots get any glory. I let their ashtrays be whooped and their faces be driven into the mats and their necks to be strangled and for them to be dominated by people around me who I trained, who are humble, hardworking, and tough. That's why the culture around the king is very good, because I don't allow predators to be highlighted or succeed. I felt this was lacking in the camp. Even though it was a nice camp, and I don't think it's a major problem. We'll fix it very easily. But I think, it was lacking. This was definitely lacking. This core cultural aspect was lacking. We're blessed with having more not non-arrogant kids, but as the camps get bigger, we're going to get a lot of arrogant little bastards. So if you attended this camp, know that this was just just playtime for you. Because next time, camp is going to be more like boot camp, and it's going to be training, and it's going to be tougher. Of course, it's going to be tough because tough is good for young people. It's going to test you, probably break you down, make you cry, which is a great thing. That's what the whole thing about going through a rite of passage is, you dumb idiot. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. Probably next camp we're going to have 2 to 3 times a day of training. I'm talking about getting your ashtray beat up 2 to 3 times a day. Not because anybody has a vendetta against you, because just you suck that bad. If you're untrained and you're delusional, you will lose. But it can be done in a good and safe environment where you won't get hurt and you'll be in the hands of people that know how to do things, do those arts, do those techniques without hurting you. But at the same time, you can fight back with all your might and all your strength and all your will and all your little brain-dead video game big bosses you thought you beat up, and you will get strangled. And if you don't give up and submit, you will go into the netherworld, meaning you'll pass out. We'll stop choking you after you pass out. But you will be passed out, and it'll be all on video. And you'll be flopping around like a little guppy. That'll do a number to arrogant kids. That really does a number. That really humbles them down real fast. And that process, even in 6 days, we're going to have 2 or 3 trainings per day, which will give you almost 12 to 18 trainings in a 6-day period. You see. So I understand some of the young people were organizing this camp this time, but I'm going to have a little talk with them, make sure they are representing the king and the king's culture and training when they are organizing a camp that I'm supposed to be responsible for in the end. Erikawa and Mr. Lee are sending their kids to the camp because they think they will learn the king's culture, not so they will learn some young people's culture. Okay, I'm saying, I know it's the first time some of our young people have organized a camp. But again, even though they train under me, some of you guys are brain dead. You're not supposed to create a camp based on your culture because you're still wimps and you're still weak. You're still being trained. You're still getting stronger. You're supposed to create the culture based on the king because that's what the people overseas are coming for. And I'm going to have this talk with you once I see you again, you young people who organized it. So next time we will definitely modify. It will not be the same type of camp. This is just a vacation camp that you had this time. Next time it's going to be a real camp that actually reflects the training that the young people get here, and thus the other people who come from overseas can actually respect our kids. Because think about it. The peace ninjas who train hard, they bleed with me, they sweat with me, they get injured, not necessarily by me, but usually by each other. I'm very controlled because I'm much higher level than them, so I can train with them safely. I don't injure them. Usually it's amongst themselves that they injure us. So, but anyways, the point is, they get bones broken, they get necks choked, they sweat, and they bleed. Many times people get cut open because we're fighting, learning real fighting. This is not freaking ballet. You understand? This is the hardest type of athletic training you can do in the world. Do you understand? It's the hardest. It's not the easiest. It's the freaking hardest. which is the reason why nobody wants to do it. Or a very small percentage of the world wants to actually do it because it's so damn hard. It's so painful. It's so mentally painful. It's so psychologically painful. It's so physically painful. But through that pain, you become extraordinary. But we should have had a situation where the kids that we're training don't just look like normal kids, but their skills and their ninja skills and all their superpowers, don't get arrogant kids, but all their superpowers can be highlighted. And the young people that are coming in from different nations, they can look up to the kids that are around me, that I'm training directly. Instead of having the kids I'm training directly be more disappear because none of the activities are highlighting their superpowers and their skills that they're learning from the king. So instead of highlighting the kids that should have been highlighted, the wrong kids are being highlighted. And what does that create? That creates a bad culture over time. It will slowly create a culture where the loud-mouthed, more rebellious, faithless, attention-grabbing, charismatic types, which are more like predators, will become the heads. They will become the alpha. They will be seen to be as the alphas of the community, of the young people. What will happen then? The archangelic types will rise to power. The archangelic types, the women, the girls, young girls, will be attracted to those type of fake males. And not honorable, faithful, hardworking, but humble males who know how to fight. So you young people did an okay job at organizing the camp. You did all right. For your first time, you did all right. But you got to reflect on your own training with the king, you bozos. How do I train you, dummies? I don't train you like that. Is training with me all the time fun? Is it always just playing around? Of course not. Is it always just theological? Of course not. Is it always just listening to lectures? No, you dumb idiots. Of course not. You guys got to think about how I train you. Instead of thinking back on your own camps during the family fraud era and what you liked about those camps. Then you're creating the camp in your own image, and you're not giving the people what they want, sending their kids overseas, coming here is to what? Come and train with the king, you bum. You're giving them something made in your image, which is the reason why that camp almost felt like a family-fed camp, minus the theology. It felt very too effeminate. So I love you young guys, and I know you know who you are. Because you guys, this is your chance. Greg delegated to you. He's a good leader, so he is delegating to young people and giving you opportunities to lead and to organize. But you have to remember, stay on focus. If you don't do that, you will unwittingly create toxic cultures where bad archangelic predators can be incentivized and girls are attracted to them. That's dangerous. I don't want my daughter in that kind of crap. Obviously, but she's smarter than that. I would never send my daughter to those kind of camps. Where the organizers, I know you're young people, so you're learning, and next time you won't do this stupid mistake again. But where the young people and the more boisterous, loud-mouthed, arrogant show-offers get attention. Are you kidding me? You know how toxic that becomes? That becomes archangelic culture. Bad, bad, bad mistake. You better be thankful you are getting this kind of clear analysis. Because next time it's not going to be like this. Next time it's going to be, I'm going to be much more aware. You young people should have showed me the damn program too, by the way. Next time, it's going to be much more reflective of the actual training I give you guys. Not your little fantasy land of family fraud and how you did camps when you were a young boy, even though you guys are still young. No, those are ineffective and they created bad culture that separated kids from father. You dumb idiots, because you're thinking on feelings and emotions. You're not trying to highlight the culture of father. Do you think father wants to create a culture where the arrogant, loudmouthed bozos are highlighted? They get all the attention. They get all the female attention. If you give them that, you've given them your culture. You want females to be attracted to hardworking young men who are not arrogant and they're humble, but tough. You want females to be attracted to those kind of men because those kind of men are stable and those kind of men are good fathers, you bozos. Do you see why the king has no hair sometimes, huh? You young guys, man, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, golly, I know you're young, and I know this is your first times, doing this kind of stuff. But you guys got to reflect. You got to reflect. You got to use your brain. That's why God gave you a brain. You can't have the same type of camps that you had in family-fed youth workshops. They're ineffective. They're pathetic. Look at their retention. How many of them believe in Father? None. Pathetic camps. And this one was not pathetic. I think there was a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff. But again, these young guys, you guys don't understand because you never coach people in physical things. 80% of people are not intellectual. They're not going to, when intellectual stuff comes up, they shut their brain off. Do you understand? That's why they brain dead, in a brain dead way, watch the internet and their handphone. So next time, we're not going to have all-day lectures. I know we didn't have all-day lectures like intense in the past, but we're not going to have that. We're not going to have just lectures. We're going to have some daily Bible study and daily DP study, sure. But that will maybe be 10%, 20% of the training. Because young people, you all know, you don't learn intellectually. And 80%, 70 to 80% will be physical hard labor and training. No, not labor, but physical hard training. And it won't be stuff that you, by natural athleticism, can be good at. It will be stuff that requires lots of tens of thousands of hours of training and grinding and pain and suffering. And those kids who do that and train under the king, with the king, those kids will be highlighted. You young boys got to understand this. Because you guys are the next generation that's going to raise the next generation. If you're raising kids and you're not aware of the kind of culture you're creating, and you take what I teach you for granted because I'm a very high-level teacher and a very high-level coach, and you can see the type of culture that I create when you come near me and around my area. You can see there's a clear and distinct, separate culture that's different. That was not reflected in the camp. That was not reflected. That was a very poor job. But that's the reason why these kids are being sent from overseas to come. Not to hang out with you guys, and have some kind of, fun times playing with younger kids. That's not why they're being sent here. Their parents are paying the money to send them here so they can understand the culture of the king and of true father, who is my father, the King of Kings. You understand? They're not coming here to go to a camp made in your image. They're coming to come to a camp made in my image and in Father's image. You have to understand and respect your customer, young boys. You have to know they're not coming to see you. I mean, this is a problem with the archangel, and these young boys are not archangels, but again, because a lot of them were raised in the family, they become so effeminate, even though I'm trying to make them more masculine. They are becoming more masculine through this process. They're just so effeminate. They just naturally go back to this feminine kind of culture. That's not Father's culture. Do you understand? He doesn't make it easy. He makes it very hard because that's how you grow as a man. And then females should be attracted to those kind of men. Because they're the ones that will fight for them. They're the ones that will not exploit them. They're the ones who will be faithful on average, more percentage-wise than the archangelic types who are more just use charisma to trick people. The culture, this is a very big problem. You can see this. The archangels always try to make it easier because they want the female attention. Look at those idiots around Father who got control of the different workshops because everything got too big. Right? The church got so big so fast. So all these leaders and these mini leaders that were doing these local camps and all, what were they doing? They're just trying to make it easier for the participants. But by making it easier, what did they allow? They allowed the archangel boys types to be highlighted and flourish. Because they're good at easy activities. And many times they're more naturally athletic. So then what happened? All the girls get attracted to those archangels. And they don't get attracted to hardworking, faithful young men who are more conservative. They got attracted to the liberal ones, which are the archangel ones. And then that culture separates from Father, who's extremely conservative, extremely strong and heavy, hard training as it goes down this pipeline. Because those younger youth group leaders are thinking, oh, I just want the kids to have a good time. No, they're not here to have a good time. That's not the purpose. It's not to come to some kind of stupid thing made in your image. They're coming here for a purpose, which is what? To get trained. To have an experience that they're never going to get anywhere else. To come in contact with Father's direct heir representative, which is not you. You young people have to think about this, okay? When we delegate stuff to you, you cannot make stuff in your own image. All right? You have to make things which allow people, because they're coming with an expectation, to experience what you guys experienced training with me. But they got none of that this time. All they've got of me, of my training, is me going to them, talking to them for a couple hours, and then them seeing a blessing. That's all they got. They should have got me through you every day, 3 times a day. Do you see what I mean? But it's okay. I mean, it's the first time the young people were organizing this thing. It's proper. Greg is definitely too busy doing all this stuff. So he did absolutely the right thing to delegate to the young people. So you guys did a good job. I mean, on average, I would say you did a good job. It's the first camp, I think you guys did a good job. But again, there's definitely room for improvement. And I want you to think of that next time we do a camp. You think of the person that you're serving, the customers you're serving. Don't think about your own self. Don't think about what you liked about your past little camps at Family Fraud, which made you a beta male or made you a little weak, effeminate male. Don't think about that crap. That's irrelevant. You have to think about what these people who we were trying to serve are paying the camp to do. And then, of course, you have to think about how effectively to do those things. So obviously they want to learn principle. Obviously you want to teach them principle. But you have to get the right proportion, especially for young people who are brain dead on the internet playing video games all day or watching stupid animation on video games. You have to understand the population you're dealing with. 80%, 80 to 90% of them, which will not be intellectuals, will not be interested in theology. Come think about it. Out of 10 kids that you get in camp, how many of them are fanatic about theology? Maybe 1 out of 10? Maybe. And that's, I would say probably less than that. So you have less than 10% of the population of that camp of young people that come to camp and they're not interested in theology at all. That doesn't mean they shouldn't hear theology, but your proportions are completely off. You're giving them 90% theology and 10%, not even training. I wouldn't even consider those other activities training. You know me. I don't even consider, dodgeball and these stupid games. I don't consider them training. That's not training. That's just purely for fun, which has no pedagogical purpose. You can do fun stuff on your own free time, not when you come to train. You don't go to boot camp and join the military and you're playing dodgeball or basketball. That's crap you do on your own free time. When you're in the camp, you do training. You're there to have a totally different experience and be challenged and pushed and feel limits. You're not there to have just fun. And actually, this is probably better, even for the adults, if you come with your parent, and if it's more like a kind of like a peace, police, peace, militia type of boot camp, then it's good because then the adults can come in. You guys can come in with goals, and let's say, for example, you don't have to do all the activities because we're going to have a lot more physical activity. The adults can do, depending on their, if you had hip replacement surgery or if you had, things that give you physical handicaps. You don't have to do it, but you should come in with goals if you come with your kids. Have a goal, for example, a healthy goal like to lose 10 pounds in 6 days. So we'll work you hard. We won't make you do all the fighting stuff and stuff like that, especially if you have injuries or you have surgeries or whatever. But you can make a goal, for example, eat healthy, lose 10 pounds, and at the same time study theology, things like that. Right? You can do those kind of things. Yeah. But come with a goal and understand this is not going to be an easy training. Camp is not supposed to be a vacation. It's supposed to be where you guys can accomplish something hard together as a family. Then you'll feel much better about your family connectivity will be a lot better because you have done something hard that all of you had to suffer through. So really our job is to make you suffer a little bit, but not to the limit where you die, but to make you suffer, experience pain so that you become stronger to that pain, just like a coach who makes you lift weights and heavier weight, even though that's painful, and you're sore as hell the next day. Or even the MMA coach or a fighting coach that will kick your ass straight, choke you out, throw you around. It's for your own good. It'll make you stronger. That should have been the culture of the camp. 3 times a day training. Every morning, get up and do physical hard exercise. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats, pull-ups, running, wrestling. You know what I'm saying? This is next camp will be. This is what people expect. Okay, people send their kids from far old countries. They expect that. They don't expect them playing around. It just looked like some kind of effeminate camp or something. It didn't reflect me at all. I couldn't honestly say I'd stamp this as my camp, as a camp under the direction of the king. But it is under the direction of the king because you young people were in charge. You organized the camp. But now that I'm aware of where your level is in reality, because you shouldn't be delusional. I know where you are, and I know what mistakes you made. We're going to change it. And I'm not saying you guys did a bad job. You did a good job. For the first time, you young people ran a camp. You did a good job. You did a good job, but you have to understand the bigger picture. The civilization. There's a civilization behind me. You understand? Not behind you. It's behind me. And I'm not bragging about it. It's something I learned from the King of Kings, true Father. And of course, I've been teaching young people in physical hard combat since very young. So I know the psychology of people very well, which is it's very apparent if you train with me and train under me. You know, all you kids know. I'm a very compassionate, loving coach and father figure in your life, and you know it. And I'll push you hard. I won't let you bullshit me. I will push your ashtray hard, but not hard enough to kill you, but the proper balance of making it hard enough so that you can push and exceed the limits that you've put onto yourself. Or what I call epigenetic unlocking. And this is what should have been the focus of the training. Not just kids having a good time and studying theology for, half the day. That's too much for kids. They don't get it. Half of them can't do algebra, for Christ's sake. Kids are extremely brain dead nowadays. They're not pushed to study philosophy at 9 years old. They're not pushed to do calculus at 10 years old. Nowadays, kids are so brain dead. When I was in middle school, I knew kids that did calculus at 10 years old. You understand? 10 years old. And I'm not even saying my generation is particularly smart. It's just that kids are not pushed at all. They're made to be dumb and weak and delusional. So we don't want to continue that culture here. That's where you send our kids here, you separate from that crap, from that satanic culture, and you come into a culture of goodness. We're hardworking, maybe sometimes less charismatic, but hardworking, not necessarily attention-grabbing, humble young men are tough, and they get attention from the females. I don't want to give the females attention. See how you determine a culture, or how you create a culture, is where you're going to allow female attention to go. Wherever you let female attention go, that's what the boys pursue. So if you allow loud-spoken, arrogant, cocky, narcissistic, charisma-based archangelic males get a female attention, you allow that culture, it will start becoming archangelic, because that's who you're propping up without you knowing. So I am very sensitive to this because I have a daughter. And I don't want camps like that from my daughter, even though she didn't go this time. And I'm not saying this because it was a disaster. It was actually a good camp. The point is, if I let this continue on like this, without the young people knowing, you guys will create hell. Without you even knowing, you will have created a disaster. In a place where I would never send my children, which is bad because it's supposed to be under my authority. You understand? All right? So anyways, the point is, we're a small family here in Sanctuary and across the world. And as you know, what you doing, girl? Okay, we're going to take a break soon. Don't worry. As you know, I will give you honesty and I will give you analysis. I'll tell you did a good job when you did a good job. And I think generally you did a good job, but I think the grace of God protected you this time. If I let it go on this way, you guys would create a society where archangels are getting promoted and they're getting attention. Bad! That means you're not free from archangelism yet. So you have a lot of growing to do. We will not create that kind of culture or even let a seed of that culture succeed in the next upcoming camps. All right. Anyways, folks, that's what that's what it's all about. All right. We must protect the females' hearts, make sure they go to the right type of men, and allow the hardworking, humble, yet strong, and honorable and faithful men shine. Then you have a society where Eve is attracted to Adam and not to the archangel. That's what you want. You want it for your daughters, you want it for your granddaughters, and you want it for your boys. And in the end, that's what creates good fathers and good mothers. All right, folks, we're going to take a short break. I apologize for ranting quite a bit on that session. But we'll be right back after this. Stay with us on the King's Report, and don't expect camp to be the same. Next time, it's going to be quite different. We'll see you on the other side.